Hey everyone, welcome back to the Union Pacific Railroad Evanston subdivision. It's been a long 4 weeks, but back in action, back with an update after a bit of a break from doing much video on the layout and a break from actually doing much work on the layout also, although I do have a few things to share. I thought the first thing I would do is kind of just do an overview of the layout. You saw that the layout starts at the staging yard, and we're moving eastbound here. The first control point is Morgan, and then we work our way eastward as we see some trains running. This is, of course, a unscenic portion of the layout. For those of you who aren't real familiar with the layout, I've been working on it for almost 2 years and have a complete trackage done, although not quite 100%, about 98% of the trackage done. This is the Taggart Mountain area, the Weber River. This is going to be a representation of the Union Pacific Railroad Evanston subdivision in Wyoming and Utah. That was the Taggart Mountains and the Weber River. This will be the Devil's Slide formation. And then this is the Devil's Slide control point, milepost 961. So we're 960 miles from Omaha. And this is the Devil's Slide area. This is actually just east of Devil's Slide, the Weber River again. Be some cool bridges going across here. This will be wholesome cement, some switching opportunities for a couple of trains, one westbound train and one eastbound train. And then continuing again eastbound, you have the little tiny town of Echo, and this is going to be the Echo Canyon. So some pretty spectacular scenery through here as the highway parallels the main line through Echo Canyon. And then we get to the Emory control point at milepost 942. Again, this will be some pretty cool scenery. Now we get to some area of the layout that I've actually have done some scenery work on. I'd say the scenery here in this peninsula area is about 90% finished. Still need to put on some trees and static grass, and of course still some a little bit of roads and some buildings. Very few buildings. This is just mostly going to be scenery. Use some photographs I took out at the Evanston sub for the backdrop photos. This is Curvo, and then this is the just east of Curvo, east of Emory, which you saw that last control point. That's where the main lines separate from each other and take different paths and actually cross over each other at Curvo. And they continue on separate paths until they come back together at the Wasatch Summit, which we're coming up on right here. This is the Wasatch control point. I don't have a label here for Wasatch, but this is the Wasatch control point. And I do have, since the last update, I do have some more ballasting done. It's been 4 weeks, so I haven't done a lot, but I have gotten some things done. Did some ballast here at the UTLX control point. I'll get to all that in just a bit. Again, it's been a while since I've done an update, 4 weeks. So just kind of want to do an overview of everything. You kind of see some of the things that I've done here. Done some more work on the engine facilities there. Still have those photo backdrops. This is Evanston Yard with a lot of switching here at milepost 917. And I do see a train coming here through Evanston. I'm going to redo these photos here at Evanston. I've been working on that on the GIMP software, GIMP. Basically, it's a Photoshop that's free. Here we are at milepost 915. I did add a signal there, if you notice. I do have a triple signal now, so that a little bit more prototypical. This is now, there's a staging yard under the stairs. This is now the transition from the lower level to the upper level. I'm going to get to all those things that I did, the signals and the ballasting and engine facilities and so forth in just a little bit. So here it comes from the lower level onto the second level, continuing eastward. This is the Aspen tunnels, and then Aspen itself, milepost 900. You notice it's getting smaller numbers as we're moving eastward and going closer to Omaha. Here's some people still at the Golden Spike area. That was almost a year ago that I had the Golden Spike, where I completed the main line all the way around. Here you have a third track, which is going to be the Pocatello sub. Here's a little bit of the track work that I still need to do. I need to bring the Pocatello sub onto the Evanston sub here at Granger. So the still need to continue the track here, and there'll be a turnout there in the Granger control point 847 milepost. Notice the upper levels, and for a lot of it, it's just about a foot wide, 10 inches I think it is. But there are a few areas here at Granger, at Aspen Tunnels, and then here at West Vaco. This is another place for some switching opportunities. A little yard there and a flood loader. So we'll have empties in and loads out, and the crew here will have to go ahead and make some loading some empties into loads. Here you can kind of see some actual trains running on the peninsula. So we were at West Vaco, took a little break here to watch the trains go through this scenic area. This is a heritage unit and a CSX locomotive is pulling an auto rack up as we see the westbound train on the upper level. The upper level there is the original main line. But anyway, the West Vaco then, it continues on the upper level. We'll get back to that train later in the video. This is all 10-inch wide bench work. It's pretty high, so won't be a whole lot of scenery, just backdrops, photo backdrops, and of course ballasting and painting and ground foam. And then this is the end of the run into the helix to get back down to the staging yard. So it's a 24-inch climb over about 500 feet of main line. There's the helix taking trains down. And there's you can see through the mirror the other end of the staging yard. All right, so what did I do in the 4 weeks? Did spend a whole lot of time on the train, but I did get some painting here of the. If you remember, I ran out of paint here, so I came back and touched up on the few areas. There were some turnouts that weren't quite painted, so you can see I was able to get my airbrush going with some True Color paint. Railroad Tie Brown is what I used. I used True Color paint with a spray can, and Railroad Tie Brown and True Color paint with a airbrush. Again, Railroad Tie Brown, but they came out a little bit different shades. They didn't come out the same, but anyway. Here you have some of the first ballast on turnout, so you can kind of get an idea what it looks like with the ballast on the Fast Tracks turnouts. Definitely is a pretty realistic look. Not exactly Proto 87 exacting standards, but definitely nice looking, looks prototypical and operates very smoothly. This ballast here does not have any glue down yet. I just finished putting the ballast on, so it's dry and loose right now. But definitely get a first look of the turnouts. I really like the Fast Tracks turnouts. I think they look very prototypical, very nice. Here you can see I still have a lot of ballasting to do. All right, now this is a little bit later with the rest of the ballast on the main line, and then I also put some glue down. So I spray it with just regular water and isopropyl alcohol. I usually mix it about 50-50. And I have to say, ballasting in HO is way easier than N scale. I hated ballasting at N scale. It was such a persnickety type of thing to do. Try to get all the little grains to stay where they're supposed to stay. Of course, you have smaller grains, so it's much harder to work with. And then once it was dry and try to get the turnouts to work again, N scale was, definitely a lot more time consuming, a lot more frustrating to work with to get it to look right. HO scale is easy. The grains are easier, and I'm using Woodland Scenics, which is supposedly supposed to be tougher. I'm still going to have a few areas that I'm going to kind of touch up. There's a couple of areas that are a little shallow. So I may do a little touch up yet and got things ready. You can see the two different shades of brown there, but once the ballast is on, it looks pretty good. Now you notice I don't have any paint or ballast here. I think I did paint them, but I don't have any ballast on there. I'm not going to have any ballast. I'm probably going to put some styrene sheets down for a concrete floor. And here you have the ballast down and also glue down. And I kind of ran out of ballast. I used for the secondary track here, I used a 50-50 mixture of Woodland Scenics fine gray and fine brown. So this is a blending of gray and brown. Definitely wanted a something to distinguish between the yard tracks, secondary tracks, and the main line. Now this will eventually, when I get to weathering, I have a lot of weathering to do, but when I get to weathering, here you can see I ran out of ballast again. So I will have to finish that up here a little bit. I am just going to ballast it sitting on the scenery, on the plaster like that. But anyway, I will go back and weather it with an airbrush, so it actually will be a little bit darker looking and so forth. Now I have some ballast there to vacuum up still. You can see there. And then also here I had having some issues with the ballast. When it's wet, it conducts electricity, and so here you can see it's detecting as being occupied. There's the little UTLX yard, so it's showing that line occupied when it actually isn't. So I'm waiting for it to dry. I had a little bit of, I think, a lot of ballast, and the ballast was pretty thick there as we went from the main line down to the yard, and so I think it's just taking a long time to dry. It's been about 3 days. These are detail west signals, and I really like the way they do this because if you bump them, they'll kind of come off, but then they go right back down. Definitely a good system. See, I still have some touch-ups there to do. This is all dry now, but it looks pretty good with the mountains in the background. One thing that was really easy in HO scale with this Woodland Scenics ballast was getting the turnouts working again was a cinch. Here you can see that ballast goes around the the signals. So definitely like that Details West. Details West signals were a little bit more expensive than the Atlas signals, but I think they definitely are better looking, and I like that detail of having them be able to kind of fall off without breaking in case you bump into them. A little bit harder to get also. You have to kind of order them. It takes them a few months to get them made and so on. So here we have it with the tank cars in place. Now there's actually going to be a parking lot there. So where all this vegetation is, this is all going to be parking lot. There'll probably be a couple of openings there with garage doors to have trucks being able to unload things there. There's going to be a road that's going to come across there and go down to Evanston. So it's going to, after I get all the parking lots in there, and there's going to just be a lot more ballast and gravel, everything. So definitely a little bit more work to do here. Of course, the building needs to be painted. Also, this is a Rick's building that I kit bashed to resemble the engine appeared all of a sudden. Forgot to put that on. But it's kind of getting there in this area. And I also did some work here at the engine facilities. This is a Walther's kit. Again, this is something that's a whole lot easier in HO scale. This is way more detailed than what I did on my N scale layout. But it's definitely gonna, got a lot more detail with the hoses and the little spigot to put the fuel into the tank, the fuel tanks, and definitely everything looks pretty good. Definitely a lot more details. I like the lights also. Someone said I should put those parallel with the tracks, but actually I think it's supposed to be this way. I still have some work to do on the roof. And I'm going to put some mortar into the joints there. And again, lots of weathering. I think I'm going to put a light inside this building too so that you can see the engines inside the facility. This is all going to need to be weathered pretty seriously. I'm also going to put a sanding tower here also. Walther's makes a sanding tower that I'm going to put here as well, so the locomotives can be fully serviced here at Evanston. Now, Evanston doesn't have any of these engine facilities, so I'm kind of modeling after the engine facilities in Green River. This is what it's going to look like when I get everything weathered really good. I'm going to have to put the yellow safety stripes there and then kind of get everything weathered tremendously so that it looks more prototypical. Not to mention the locomotives themselves being weathered. Definitely have to get that done. Of course, it's going to be ballast around everything and gravel and dirt. So you kind of have to envision how this is going to look with some further detailing and serious weathering on both the locomotives and the buildings and everything. So definitely it's going to look pretty cool. Here you have it going from the engine fueling stations into the engine yard, and then we'll go ahead and run the switchers here into the engine facilities as we see a eastbound manifest go by. So I've been kind of taking a break these last 4 weeks, and I'm really kind of ready to get serious again, not only about doing updates regularly and videos throughout the week, but also on putting together a schedule of work that I'm going to do and make sure I get a lot of progress done on everything. Here's the work that I did. I took put an extra signal here. There are on this one control point on this track, there's a crossover from one main line to the other, and then there's also a crossover to go into the yard. So I took an Atlas single mast signal and I tore it apart, and I assembled it so that it could go here as the third light. So here you can kind of see I just used the existing post. This is what the signal was that I used, not this particular ones, but it was like this one, a single mast signal made by Atlas. As I said, these are not as detailed as the detailed West ones are, but they're pretty good. And basically you can see I tore it apart, and the post is just made out of two halves, and then you run the wires through the halves. So I basically ripped the posts apart. Here you can see where the little angle is on the post, and there's the other half. So I basically just use enough of the post to kind of extend it up over. Here's the ladder that's left over. Not sure what I'm going to do with that. But I just used a little bit of the post to kind of extend it up, and then kind of glued everything together and glued it to the existing one, and then had another post. All right, so did some work over the last 4 weeks. We'll be doing much more work. I'm kind of pretty gung-ho about getting going on some serious work here and getting some progress done. I do have an operating session, 2 of them in one weekend. We have a rail op group coming in of some sort. So we have a Saturday and Friday and Saturday, hoping to do some live streaming of that. But we'll end this video with some running of the auto rack train through the newly ballasted area. This is the Wasatch grade coming up to the Wasatch Summit. You can see more of the photo backdrops that I did. And here you have the train going on the newly ballasted Wasatch control point, smoothly through the turnouts with the ballast. Definitely a great improvement once things are ballasted. Kind of makes everything pull together look much more realistic. I did get an order from Scenic Express on some super trees. I'm excited about getting that together. It's one of the things I want to try and make sure I do. But I am going to continue to extend the scenery. I'm looking forward to when I get the entire layout scenic and ballasted. Hopefully it won't take too long to do that. And then I can start adding tons and tons of details. Need to do lots and lots of weathering. This upcoming week, I'm hoping to get some new Scale Trains AC 4400s as we see the DPU pulling up from behind. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Look forward to a lot of updates coming up. It's going to be great. Everybody have a great week. Take care, everyone.